Okay, everybody, we're going to be talking about something that has been really transformative for our organization, and that is decisions. It's made our meetings way more efficient. We're a lot more structured. You have the time. We tend to end our meetings on time, which I know is probably something that a lot of you would be passionate about. But when Kaylee first brought it to my attention as being used in Teams, I was a bit skeptical. But she's really brought me over, and we are just really embracing this. And we just wanted to introduce you guys. But since Kaylee's the authority, we're going to let her take the reins on this. So Kaylee.
I am so excited to show you guys Decisions. This app is a 10 out of 10 for me. I love it. If you guys are, using Microsoft Teams for meetings, and especially if you guys are using Task by Planner, you need to check out Decisions. So I'm going to show you guys the main functionalities of Decisions and how you can utilize that to make your meetings even more successful. So let's dive into what that looks like. Now, something that I want you guys to know before we dive into this is that we are going to make something that is called an agenda. Now, this agenda can be viewed in three different ways. There is the editing view, so how you're going to see it when you're first creating the agenda. There is the full view that you can view after you create it, where that is going to be shown inside even Teams channels for the rest of your team to view. And then there is also an inside a meeting view that you can easily access with just one click while you're just inside the meeting itself.
Now,
so
can I be selfish? That's my favorite one.
That's your favorite one?
Well, because we have so many meetings and it just helps us stay on task because it's got the time intervals. Yeah. It's got it all broken down. It really keeps us on task. It's just, it's been very transformative. I think that's the thing that I love the most.
And that's great to hear, because that is something that the rest of your team should be looking forward to, or really viewing during the meeting. And I think the main view is really going to be, for those of you who are watching this, it's going to be creating the agendas. That's what you're going to be really a part of. But the rest of your team, I think, will mostly be viewing it inside of the team meeting itself. And that, I think, is a really cool functionality of Decisions. So first, what I want to talk to you guys about is just simply creating the agenda. Now, something to note is that I would recommend creating the meeting itself before you create the agenda. So let me show you why I believe that's a good idea. So here is the main page of Decisions. It is going to show you your meetings that you have coming up. So this is a little bit of a sneak peek of our next video that we might be talking about soon, which is Slack versus Teams. So I have that discussion with Bobby coming up, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity to show you guys why Decisions is so awesome and really effective in meetings. So yeah.
How do you add decisions on the bar like you have there?
Oh, great question. So what you would do is, if you don't have the Decisions app on your bar already, you would click on these three dots, find the Decisions app by typing Decisions. And now it's not going to show up for me because I already have it. But if you did type this, it would show up right at the top because it's a Microsoft app. So that's going to show up first and foremost. You'd click on it and download it to your bar.
Now, just a tip, depending on your organization, it may require that your admin has to do it first before you can start to do that. But
that is absolutely
in general,
correct.
You should be able to add it, no problem. But just a caveat.
Yes, that is correct. And that is actually very easy to set up. And I can create a video on the admin settings of that specifically for those of you who need that set up. But let's go into this video, assuming that you already have what you need and you're just trying to use the product. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is click on the meeting that you would like to create an agenda for. And you can see that it says add an agenda, right? When you hover over the meeting.
So you've already added this meeting and now you're just,
it's already created
and you're at, okay, got it.
Exactly. And it automatically connects to all of your meetings. So if you have a meeting coming up, it's going to show here. So I'm going to click on this meeting and it is going to pull up this window that's saying, where would you like it to be connected to? Now, this is important because this is basically asking you what team, right? What team of yours is going to need to know about this agenda? Okay, so in my situation, this is the marketing team that makes, our videos. So it's going to be me and Bobby. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where we usually do a lot of our videos, which is the Axiom demo. And so I'm going to click on that. And as you can see, it tells you, okay, so because you're doing this team, which is Axiom demo, you want Bobby and Kaylee to be a part of this agenda. Okay.
So this is kind of how you're enforcing security, I guess, as well, because depending on who's a member of that team is going to be able to see what decisions is putting in there for that meeting you're having. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Okay. But don't you worry about it sending something to them as you're clicking the next button right here, because it's not sending anything to them yet. It's just preparing you for when you're done with this agenda and you click done and you click send to team, this is who it's going to send to, sort of thing. Okay, so it's not sending it to them yet, but it will. And so you're just preparing for that moment. So here it's going to ask, now that you've picked your team, now it's time to pick the specific channel. So in this case, I want it to just go to the general channel, but you can also say no channel. You can just say that you don't want it posted in anywhere.
Now, for people that aren't familiar with Teams channels and the Teams groups, there's a whole video that we've covered on that, which we can have linked in the description. But if you just go to the Teams section, typically most organizations set up their teams based on their organizational structure and purpose that they're using. And this is what's going to empower this to be so much more productive. And you want to have those built already before you start doing this.
Exactly. And that is why it is very crucial to have those teams and channels set up properly in your organization, because all of these apps really do, even Task by Planner, build upon that. Right. Very important. I'm going to click next. And then it is going to create the agenda.
And here's where the magic happens.
Here is where it all happens. This is where you are going to create your agenda and the different items on your agenda. So you have the option to pick the type of item that you would like to add to your agenda. So for example, you have 3 options. It can be a decision, it could be a discussion, or it can be information. So what you would do is create by just starting with the first item on your agenda. So let's say in this discussion, we're going to dive into what I know about Slack first. Okay. So I'll say Kaylee talks about Slack. And then I can do any sort of description here if I feel like I need to elaborate for the team.
And that's always helpful because you guys will put like a sentence or so about the topic. And then I'm like, okay. And I love the fact that we can look at it before we get to the meeting. So you can have a pretty big heads up about what's coming.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Prepare your team with these items for the meeting and for the discussion that is to come. And that's what I think is so awesome about Decisions. I just made a little description so that they are able to know a little bit more of what I'm going to talk about. And then I'm going to categorize this. I'm going to say that this is more of a discussion. Because Bobby and I are going to be talking about my experience with Slack and if we think I need to learn more about it or something like that. Okay. Gotcha. So then what you can do is you can add the amount of time that you think, this is so important, the amount of time you think
I
it's
love
going
that
to
part
take
too.
in the meeting. So I'm going to say it's going to take me about 15 minutes to explain to him, everything that I know about Slack, right? And so then I'm going to also add myself to this discussion because I'm going to be the one talking about it. So I hit the plus button over here with the people, added myself as a presenter and member, and I'm going to apply it. And here I am as a person that's going to be talking about this specific topic. I love this. I think it's so great. So easy to see my face, my name so quickly and what I'm going to be talking about. Now in the title, I say Kaylee talks about Slack, but let's say it was just saying talk about Slack, right? Then it's like, okay, well, what are we talking about with Slack? Okay, who's talking about it, right?
Right.
All the information is right there. Then once you're done with these, this is something that I feel like is really important to note. You can upload any files or links you would like as well to these specific items on your agenda. This is a great way to keep your meetings efficient. It's no more like, oh, let me try to find that photo. Gosh, where was that? Where would that photo be? I don't know. And they're taking 20 minutes of the meeting just trying to find the link to that photo and where it might have been. No, just do it before. Super easy. Put it in, and it is going to easily make it accessible for them to present it in the meeting.
Now, there's
so nice.
One thing to keep in mind, just kind of a pro tip here, that if you invite a team and some of the people that are going to be attending that meeting are not in that team, they're not going to see this decisions list. So it reiterates the importance of making sure you pick the right team.
The last thing that I do want to say about items is you can also tag items. So this is something that you can have in the back of your brain of like, okay, if I'm going to talk about a lot of, let's say, security, and I'm going to talk a lot about company training, and I want to have tags for that. What you can do is you can add a tag to the item that just says, like, let's say you can say security, and then it hashtags the security. And so something that's really cool is you can search it later on in your search bar above here, and it will show up the agenda that talked about security. So cool. That is really cool with keeping things very organized. Once you have filled out all of this stuff, what you'll do is you'll save it. This is something that is a little odd about decisions, and I want to really make sure you guys understand this. When you save an item on an agenda, it gives you additional functionalities that you did not have before saving, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure why they do that. Maybe they just don't want to overwhelm you at first.
Right.
And maybe you just want to throw everything in there and then get more specific after you've thrown everything in. So that's just something interesting to note. But let me show you what happens when you save the item.
Now, Teams does that too. Remember when you go to create the Teams meeting, right? That event, it doesn't always, like it will, like some of those custom options, like you want everybody to be muted when they come in, like you won't see that until after
you create the meeting itself. Yeah, that's a great point to note. When you hover over the item, you notice that you can now add some things like notes and tasks. These are connected to OneNote and Task by Planner.
Wow.
This is so important. If we're talking, let's say in the meeting about Slack, and I realize that I need to watch, that Bobby wants me to watch a specific YouTube video to learn more about it, right? And I don't want to forget to watch that video. I can click add a task, and it will create. Now you can use an existing plan if you already have a plan. Now, if plans don't make sense to you, if this stuff doesn't make sense to you, please go and watch my task by planner video that I created. And I'll link above.
It was awesome, by the way.
Tells you all about this stuff and is very informative about task by planner and how you can utilize it. But you set it to the plan that you would like. You click save. Then you can create tasks in the planner. Okay. So now I'm going to say, okay, I don't want to forget, watch the YouTube video. So then what I'm going to do is I can make a description if I want even more of it. It's automatically going to be assigned to me because I am the presenter of that item from the agenda already, right? But you can change that if you'd like to, and you can add more if you need to, but that is already exactly what I want. So I'm going to add it, and boom, it gets sent to me. #security. You can look it up if you need to, that my task is there for #security. So cool. And it will then show up in my planner of to-dos.
Well, one of the things that I've liked about it is how, as my managers and directors are getting together with their respective people that they're in charge of, I love how they can assign those tasks. And then it's kind of helping them get a little bit more better vision on those types of things. Now, there are obviously other tools that you can do that on, but I just love the fact that it's just easy and native to Teams. And we live so much in Teams anyway. Like, the more that we can integrate with that versus finding another app, especially if the app costs money, it's great.
Then what you can do is, I know that these 3 dots were here before, but they're still there. And now there's even, like how it says, more options. It literally says more options. So look, now when you click on this, you can, like how we already did, new task, add a new decision.
So why would you want to do a new decision here versus adding a new item that has a decision unique to itself? Like, why would you want to do it in here nestled in the discussion section? Or is it going to add it as a new line item completely different?
Great question. So when you click on a decision here, it adds the decision to the agenda item Kaylee talks about Slack. So it is basically like saying it's a baby decision to the item on your agenda. So like, let's say that
baby's first decision.
It is yeah, baby's first decision. So let's say the decision is, should Kaylee talk about this subject, right? All right. And then I'm going to click save. And now look here. This is very important. It is not a line item. It is not big. It is hidden. It is nestled under this item. And you can see, because you see that it says there's one decision that needs to be made. Okay. So your team can easily say, Kaylee's going to talk about this. There's already a task that she has to do about it. And we're going to, as a team, make a decision on this subject. And when you click on it, it's like, oh, what is that decision? Boom. Here it is right here. Oh, I just love it. It's so easy to look at. So simplified. You can hide it then if you want to by clicking it again. And then you just have the main items of the meeting. So good. I love it. There's the My Notes, which was also right here. A new comment, which is basically something that any of your team members can do if they want to add something to that specific item and they don't want to forget about it. They can add a comment to that item. And so that's really great for discussions and preparing for discussions before you're in the meeting and taking that time out of the meeting. You can then open the folder for the meeting. You can upload a file, add a link, and you can also, like how Bobby said previously in the video, move the item to another meeting or another planner if you actually figured out that that person is no longer going to be at that meeting and maybe you need to push it to the next weekly meeting.
So from then on, it's just kind of rinse and repeat. You just hit add and you're picking whether you want to do discussion, decision, or...
That's exactly right. Okay. That's exactly right. So you would click this add button and here we go again, just like we did before. Another thing that you can add to your agenda are things besides the items themselves. So, right, one of our items that we have up there on our agenda right now is Kaylee talks about Slack. Well, if you click this little down arrow here, you'll notice that there are things different than just the agenda item, like a break, suggest an agenda item, and import from meeting planner. So a break is something that you can add to your meeting. Let's say it's going to be 3 hours long. It's going to be a super long training session where you go over a bunch of stuff and you want to have 3 or 4 20-minute breaks in there. You can click on the break button. You can say the amount of time. So let's say it is 30-minute break, which actually it's alerting me right now. Kaylee, there's not enough time for a 30-minute break because it's only from 10 to 10:30. I love that. So then it's like, okay, you're right. Only 5 minutes. So then I do that and I'll just say like break for coffee, which I know Bobby would love. So it's a necessity for us, you know.
The world would be a better place if we took more coffee breaks.
I totally agree. So then you would save that. And I love how it looks.
It's got a pause icon.
It's got a pause button. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So, and it'll alert you like in your team of like, you're going to take a pause. There's a break coming up in 5 minutes. Yeah. Then next, when you click the down arrow is suggest an agenda meeting. Hallelujah for this. I love this. When you send the agenda to the rest of your team, they have the opportunity to suggest agenda items. So it doesn't rely all on you, right? If they think of something else that they want to add into it, there's no more you hunting them down, you know, to try to add it in yourself. They have full opportunity to suggest something to you.
So if you click that button, does it ask them to put an item in there, or does it just create a space for the person to add that?
Here's what it does. It shows up. So I'm going to do test agenda item. And when I click this, now you see it doesn't say save. It's not saving it. It's just suggesting. It's like just making sure you know this. You're only doing a suggestion. When you show it in here, it shows it underneath suggested agenda items, where it says when it was submitted, who it was submitted by, and the person who is in charge of the meeting can either approve or deny it. Okay.
I haven't used that part.
Super cool. But you have to have the agenda done and ready for the team to look at before the meeting for them to be able to do this. So you have to be efficient with your time.
Right? Yeah. That's where the rub is. People typically just want to YOLO and go right on in and just see how it plays out. And that's why meetings take too long. But if you spend a little extra time using decisions, you'll be way more efficient.
Exactly. So now I am going to show you guys what it looks like inside a meeting itself and what you can see in the actual agenda when you're inside a Teams meeting. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Okay. And Kaylee, I'm noticing that there's no decisions in here. So how do we get it?
Yeah, you don't see anything, right? Because at first you do not have the app downloaded into your meeting. It's super interesting how they do that, but it's just, I think, really another way for Microsoft to not overwhelm you with a bunch of apps here that you have on your day-to-day, bar. So when you click on these 3 dots here, you have the option to add an app. Now, if you're not using this function in your meetings, I would highly recommend looking into a bunch of different apps that Teams has that you can utilize inside meetings, like Whiteboard and stuff like that, which is really cool. But we are going to add decisions. Here it is. So I'm going to click on it, click add into the meeting. Okay, so then you're going to name the agenda whatever you feel comfortable with. So you can call it, let's say, and then it's going to load, and boop, here is the agenda that I created before we were in the meeting. So I have the different items, test 1 and test 2, and it tells you the test 1 is for discussion and test 2 is a decision. And it tells you even who is attached and who is a presenter of these items, which is pretty cool.
And I love it because it just keeps us on task. And you don't in this example, you don't have the times, but in the, if you did put those specific times in there, they would show. So, you know, okay, test 1 could be 5 minutes. So, and this person's doing it. And then in the second one, it's this. And then you have a decision on there. It's part of it, is part of the notes. And what's nice too, is in the details, you can have links, you can have those notes and information that you have. So when you get to that topic, if someone's like, oh, you know, we're going to be talking about this, let me go ahead and open that browser up. Let me go ahead and click that link and look at that. So
all of that is going to be under there. Yeah. Great point.
All right. So Kaylee, let's say that you've already started the meeting and you want to make a whole bunch of changes to the agenda as people are asking good questions and some other things, and you want to add something on there. Can you do that?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
But it is, you can't do everything, right? So let me pull up my agenda now that we have started the meeting. So you're able to add another item. So let's do test 3.
Which is a 2.
Which is okay, listen, the SAS, not me. Let's say that takes 5 minutes and I'm going to be presenting during that time. Going to save it. I created one, but the thing is like, there are certain things like the time of these that you can't change because you've already started, right? We're already pretty far into the meeting. Honestly, we're 30 minutes over the meeting. So there's no way you're going to be able to change the time of these that you already created. But you still can add more. You still can add tasks as you talk about tasks with your team. You still can add decisions, right? So if you're talking about something and you realize that there is this decision that needs to still be made, you can create it in here and log it, which is super cool. So you still have a lot of room. But as far as like how detailed it can be with like the links and stuff like that, I mean, I honestly don't understand the purpose of going in here and adding the link when you're already in the meeting, because you can't just pull it up. So with that kind of stuff, it's sort of dumb. And it should sync, would you look at that, real time inside the meeting.
Beautiful thing. And there's the time, the 5 minutes. Look at that.
It is a beautiful thing. Yeah. And here's what it looks like to view the time. Super, super cool app, guys. I would highly suggest using it, especially if you're using Task by Planner. I mean, no brainer for that one. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we upload more videos, because we are going to be diving way more into decisions, way more into Task by Planner and all of those apps that are a part of Microsoft Teams and things that you can utilize to help your team stay efficient.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.